I clicked on it, and there was Benjamin's handsome face. The footage was from right after he had returned to the country. Someone asked him, "Ben, what do you think is the happiest moment in life?" He responded nonchalantly, "Probably last week overseas, when I coaxed Jessica to sleep, then pulled Cynthia into the bathroom." His voice carried a hint of tenderness mixed with the teasing laughter of those around him. I felt my whole body turn ice cold. I suddenly remembered another post Cynthia had shared before. "Ever since we had a child, we haven't had any alone time. We can only sneak around and do this and that after Jessica falls asleep." I sat there, lost in thought, when another message from Cynthia arrived. "Oops, my bad. I accidentally sent that to you." By the time I realized, I couldn't unsend it. "But honestly, you should know where Benjamin's heart truly lies, right? Back then, you forced him into marriage using dirty tricks, and became Benjamin's wife. During these 3 years abroad, he's been with me and Jessica. Jessica isn't even his biological child, yet Ben treats her better than any real father would. Even though we broke up, he still can't let go of me. It won't be long before we're back together again. Miss Stevens, I know your family is rich, and you don't lack a man in your life. I'd advise you not to make things hard for yourself. Just back out on your own." After saying that, she sent another picture. Jessica was smiling brightly in the middle while she and Benjamin were both kissing the girl's cheeks. They looked like a picture-perfect family. I smiled and replied, "Sure." Then I called my dad. "Dad, I've made up my mind. I'm taking Esther to settle down abroad. We'll leave in a few days." His voice was filled with surprise and excitement. "Really? But I heard that Benjamin just came back. Your family is finally reunited. Does he agree with this?" I let out a bitter laugh. He'd love nothing more. That night, for the first time, I didn't stay up waiting for my husband to come home. It was already 2 in the morning when Benjamin returned. As soon as he entered the door, he frowned at the pitch-black room. Usually, I would leave a light on for him, but this time was an exception. Not only this time but from then on, I wouldn't bother him anymore. For 3 whole days I didn't say a single word to Benjamin. After he sensed that something was off, he came home one night with a gift box in hand. "Jocelyn, this is for you." There was a trace of guilt in his expression. "The other day, Jessica was being insensitive. I want to apologize on her behalf to both you and Esther." As he spoke, he opened the box. Inside lay an outdated necklace. He took it out and reached over. "Let me help you put it on." I subtly avoided his hand. No need. I had seen that necklace on Cynthia's social media. It was the same one she had once complained about for being outdated and old-fashioned, even joking that she wouldn't even bother to pick it up if it were thrown away. I walked past Benjamin with an expressionless face, carrying Esther, who was dressed and ready to go. Then I drove out the door. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him freeze for a moment, his gaze lingering on me for a long time. "You seem different today. Where are you headed? Let me drive you." Benjamin sounded unusually attentive. I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror, my tailored casual suit a stark contrast to the demure dresses I used to wear around him. In the 3 years he was gone, I started my own company, handled business negotiations, and even learned to fix my own plumbing. I never needed him to survive. As for driving, oh, don't bother me. I'm probably better at it than you now. Besides, I had a more important reason for going out today. I was taking Esther to cancel our household registration. 3 hours later, we walked out of the government office, only to find Benjamin's car still parked at the entrance. He stood outside, his brows furrowed as he stared at me. "Jocelyn, what are you doing here with our daughter?" He had followed us, watched me carry Esther inside and then waited 3 whole hours. For some reason, an uneasy feeling clawed at his chest. I smiled. "Nothing much. Our documents expired, so we came to renew them." "Aren't you busy today? I heard Cynthia is job hunting. She probably needs you." Benjamin's eyes darkened, scrutinizing me. After a long silence, he let out a cold laugh. "Jocelyn, you're something else. This is the first time I've seen a wife pushing her own husband away. Since you insist, I'll do as you wish." He slammed the car door shut and his car sped off, leaving me standing there in stunned silence. I couldn't understand it. I was giving him exactly what he wanted, freedom to be with Cynthia. So, why was he angry? It wasn't until his assistant called me that I finally found out. "Madam, Mr. Jameson cleared his entire schedule today just to spend time with you and Esther. Why did you upset him like that? Now look what's happened. He's drinking himself into oblivion and has gone to see Cynthia and her daughter." His assistant had always believed we were a perfect match, and tried to bring us back together. Now, seeing the way things were, I could only manage a wry smile. "Thanks for telling me, but let him be. After all, I had my own plans. In 3 days, Esther and I would be leaving this place for good." However, fate seemed to have other ideas. On the very day I finalized Esther's transfer to a new school, Jessica pushed her into the pool, triggering a sudden and severe medical emergency. Panic seized me as I rushed Esther to the hospital, desperate for help. Alas, I was met with devastating news when I arrived. Benjamin had used his influence to divert all of the city's medical resources to treat Jessica's allergic reaction. Esther lay in the hospital bed, her small face pale and lifeless. I frantically dialed Benjamin's number, begging him to save our daughter. On the other end of the line, I heard Cynthia's sobs. Benjamin sounded exhausted, but then he let out a cold laugh. "Jocelyn, what act are you putting on this time? Esther is perfectly fine. How could anything have happened to her? That day, I set aside everything for you two, but you pushed me away. Now that Jessica's in critical condition, you're trying to play some jealous game again." A metallic taste filled my throat. Just as I was about to explain, the call ended. A busy signal droned in my ears. A crushing sense of despair swallowed me whole. I expected to see tears and panic when I looked at Esther, but instead, she gave me a serene, wise for her age expression. She mustered a tiny courageous smile despite her poor breathing and oxygen mask attachment. "Mommy, Daddy really doesn't want me anymore, does he?" Her trembling hand reached out, and she gently wiped away the tears streaming down my face. "Don't cry, Mommy. If Daddy doesn't want me, then I don't want him either. In the end, I had to call my father, begging him to use his connections to find a doctor who would save my daughter's life. He managed to pull some strings, but a top specialist from a neighboring city was rushed in. During the days that followed, Benjamin never once appeared at the hospital. Yet, on the news, he was being praised for mobilizing all of the city's medical resources to save a life. My heart was as cold as ice as I gazed at his concerned face on the screen. Ben, since you love them so much, my daughter and I will help you. On the day Esther was finally discharged from the hospital, I finalized the cancellation of our household registration. Then I deleted Benjamin's contact information from my phone, snapped the SIM card in half, and completely left the city with Esther.